Hello, I'm Mark Sumner, host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and today I have Andy Readman, the Data and AI Director for Academy from Pax8 in the studio in London. How are we doing, Andy?
Really good, yeah. Such a pleasure to be on the show, and really happy to be here.
Good. Now, Andy, I'll be honest with you, normally what happens, I normally go through someone's LinkedIn profile, pull something out, and then almost like tease them about it really. Now, with yours, there was nothing controversial, really. You are called a thought leader in AI, and I will tease you a bit about your job title, because don't take this the wrong way, but I don't think you're going to be able to get another job if you ever lose your job at Pax8, because I've never seen a job title, Data and AI. I don't think you'll be able to get another job if you do lose your job. So let's start there. What is that job? Where has it come from?
That's worrying, isn't it? If you're saying that. So Data and AI Director, I sit in the Academy EMEA function in Pax8. So my job is kind of two parts. I look 10 years into the future, looking at sort of from the vision of what's changing with the MSP world and the channel and how AI and automation and data in general is going to change what we do. And also look 10 years into the past. So looking back at what enterprise businesses have already been doing with AI, and my background, we can talk about like the journey and how I got there. But 10 years ago, enterprise businesses have been using AI successfully, pre-ChatGPT, before AI was mainstream and cool. There's been a lot of successful use of that. So we can learn a lot from 10 years in the past, and also trying to come up with what is the new way of working in 10 years into the future as well. It's a bit of two-sided coin. But
yeah, because a lot of people would look at your job now and think, this is luck for Andy. He's in the perfect job, So how did we get here? Was it luck? How did you get into this space?
Luck's a trigger word for me. Anyone that's close to me watching this, friends and family especially, would know that I don't believe in luck. Like, you make your own luck. That's about as far as I go with luck. But I think luck is sometimes a cop out, and it takes away from someone's personal achievements to say they were lucky to be there. So, I mean, about a month ago, you had a guest on who started in double glazing to start their IT career. And it was a similar story for me, actually. I fell into kitchen design consultancy, which is probably more similar now to what I do than when I ended up in computing. I successfully sold kitchens for 6 months, and that's not on my LinkedIn because it's not relevant now necessarily. So that's the hidden source you didn't find. But there you go. That's the gem for you. I didn't like working weekends as much as that was really successful, and I loved it. I didn't like working on Saturdays, so I went back to the only thing I knew I was good at, which was golf. Golf.
You're a golfer.
I wanted to be a professional golfer. I had a swing analysis and an interview. They accepted me, but they let me know that I was going to be the worst one to make the cut, so to speak, onto this course to be a professional golfer at the Belfry and everything. Oh, wow. So if I had the mental resilience I had now, I'd be a professional golfer for sure. But at that time, to be the worst person to be accepted, I flipped the tables. I'll give up golf. I didn't play for 20 years after that. So I've only just recently started taking up golf again.
Are you any good now?
Yeah, I want to get to single figure handicap in the next couple of years again. So that's the dream. But so golf was my next dream job. Yep. It didn't go very well. And then I wouldn't say it was a dream job, but the only thing I knew I was good at after golf and selling kitchens was fixing computers. Like, I grew up as a kid just building PCs, doing custom PCs and stuff like that at home. So I got a job up in London as a first-line IT engineer, and changing batteries on wireless keyboards, and introduced to servers and other things like that. And about 15 years or so working in all kinds of different size companies, big enterprises through to MSPs and smaller local firms. Basically, I was always driven to have this manager title, service delivery manager. I went through ITIL and those kind of frameworks at Publicis Group, and I was like, service delivery manager, that's what I'm gunning for. So I was always very, very ambitious, but only to that very next step, never really thinking about a longer term strategy or a longer term plan. So I made my employers' life hard. Like, I'm coming for that role. Like, show me what I need to do. Now I've done it. Can I have the role? Nope. For most of part of a decade. And then I was both looking to not be in London anymore from commuting perspective, and also I wanted that service delivery manager role. And I found this amazing job advertised at Wirehive. So Wirehive were at the time a hosting company tailored to the creative media agency. So they were a channel business, but not in the same form as an MSP necessarily. They'd originally been an MSP and specialized in a creative vertical, basically. So they did VMware clusters and hosting specifically for web apps and things like that. And they were looking for a service delivery manager. So I took that role, stone's throw from my house, like basically where I used to park to go and watch the planes if I wanted to chill out on a Sunday or something. And what then happened, which is really interesting, was within a year or 18 months, they were taking that role away from me. They were saying, look, we've looked at your psychometric profile, how things are going and everything, and we don't think you're a service delivery manager.
What?
Another dream job that I lost.
They've just taken it away from you.
They put two options on the table. You can leave and go and be a service delivery manager somewhere else, but we believe you can do something different. We believe this opportunity, we're starting to look at hyperscale providers and not just our VMware estate. We're looking at Microsoft as well as Amazon Web Services. And we think you could be an Azure architect working with the Microsoft stack. And
what did you say to that?
To be honest, I was heartbroken at the time.
Yeah.
But these people, they showed me pages and pages of studies they'd done on my character, my personality, and it was really with my interest at heart. Like it was trying to break this mold of I only wanted to be the manager, and then what, like senior manager or something. Like I would have got there eventually, but it was short-sighted to me, and they saw that. So.
Now, was that not luck? Was that not luck? They come up to you.
No,
you don't believe in luck.
It's my fourth dream job. I actually got it. It's in my hometown, a stone's throw from my house. Really, I still don't believe in luck. You know, there's so many people that pushed me. My wife in particular, she saw more in me than just doing the IT engineer role. But loads of people in the channel will empathise with this. Like, you can be ambitious, but it's really hard to see past your current role and the next logical progression on that career ladder.
It is, yeah.
And we've got Debbie Clement, who's like VP of Talent at Pax8, and she's worked with Wirehive. She's worked with me and the team for a long time. And she did this amazing talk at a conference recently where she was talking about like there is no career ladder. It's more of a career obstacle course. And that's where LinkedIn maybe doesn't do it justice. But for me, it really has felt like an obstacle course from that moment. It switched from a ladder of, well, I can only be the next step, and there's a scarcity of how many roles there are being the manager in the company I want to work in. But now it's like, well, I can do anything. I can develop my skills in a particular area, go and make something new that plays to the company's goals and what they're trying to do, develops that value for the market we're in, and I can basically go and achieve whatever I want in any role. So it's not luck. It's more like unlocking that awareness and removing any limiting beliefs, removing that imposter syndrome, and being in a company that allows you to thrive in that way is just game changing.
Do you know what? I think that's a great way of thinking about it, more of an obstacle course, because what you've said is bang on. Loads of people in the channel, I want to get to the next role. I want to be a channel director or a mere channel director or whatever it is. It doesn't exist. All those roles are limited. And actually, what you've said there, I think would be inspiring for a lot of people out there to think, actually, if you open your mindset, there is other opportunities if you create value yourself and enhance your skills. So yeah, no, really, really relevant. For the listeners that don't know Pax8 and what they do, give us a bit of an overview of the company.
Yeah, so Pax8 is a cloud marketplace. The vision there is to basically enable the future of what we see technology and service providers in particular. So from the ground up, we were founded around this idea of helping MSPs buy, sell, and manage the cloud technology. So I know the distributor word's going to come up, but I've
got to sort of step in, Andy. Really, it's because most people would say to me, Pax8 distributor. In fact, when I looked at it, Pax8 ruffled a few feathers with the full page spread in the New York Times. We are not a distributor. Is that just clever marketing, or is it based on substance?
There's definitely substance. I talk about it being like the DNA of the business that we're in. So we've got a mission statement, which is to build the technology marketplace of the future. What that means, we can get into the details of specifically what that looks like. But for me, the most important thing, we've got mission, vision, and purpose. Our purpose statement is helping small businesses turn their dreams into reality with the power of technology. And those small businesses, we look after 43,000 partners currently, globally. And that translates to 750,000 end customers who have got more than one employee. They've got 30 million collective end users, more than 30 million people that are being supported by this Pax8 marketplace. And that really does matter that we focus on those end users through the channel, because what the marketplace brings is not just the software and the ability to distribute. So I'm allowed to use the word distribute, but not distributor. We can distribute that technology, but it's way more. Like, the platform is a business tool for those MSPs to use that's really going to help them identify, generate new leads, generate opportunities, and close those much more fast than ever before. But also, it's the enablement piece that's outside of that platform. So we've got loads of amazing AI. I can talk to you about the AI in the platform, but the enablement that our partners need, the MSPs in the world need right now, is not just a tool that's got AI in it. It's like, where do I find AI opportunities? How can I revenue generate based on this AI stuff? Particularly, where are the recurring revenue opportunities with AI in my customers right now, that doesn't come from a tool. That comes from a community that's powered by education, innovation, and that enablement piece that's my role is really about.
Andy, when you get questioned about you're just a distributor, what would you say the difference is between a distributor and a marketplace and how you differentiate yourself?
So the key things that we're doing right now that I believe is the difference between a marketplace and a distributor is a lot of thought leadership. So we've put out in June this year at Beyond, our flagship event in Denver, Scott Chasen came out and welcomed everyone to the era of managed intelligence. Now that wasn't just a nice keynote, it was backed up by quite an extensive report, a white paper that we commissioned on the agentic inflection point report. So you can read that, or you can get Copilot to summarize it for you and create a podcast out of it automatically. But basically that thought leadership that's there is really about the vision of where MSPs can go. And it's different to MSP 3.0, a small one-step evolution. It's actually a complete mindset shift. So, we've gone from break fix into managed services, where we're looking at recurring revenue streams and having, good, better, best packages, that kind of stuff per user. For me, the managed intelligence piece is around focusing so much more on customer success. And of course, people might think, well, I do that now. We manage our success of our tickets. We manage customer satisfaction. We manage our SLAs and deliverables. If you're only measuring your deliverables to your customer, that's MSP. If you're instead going deeper than that, measuring your customer's revenue, their profitability, their attainment of their organizational goals, if you're actually measuring that, if you've got an internal dashboard looking at all your customer success, that's a real behavioral trait that we'd see as a managed intelligence provider. Other things like providing swarms of agents to help them manage their digital workforce alongside their humans. They've got agents working side by side. So that's a piece. And the thought leadership is one piece. And that's backed up also by, in this month, we've just had our Beyond conference in Amsterdam, in EMEA. And we've delivered the managed intelligence provider playbook. Now that's got 5 plays, taking you not just about the why of this is important and why it's going to change, but the how, like 5 distinct plays around how to discover, buy, build, sell, and manage agentic opportunities in your customer base. And there's so much more as well. And then thought leadership is one. There's also the innovation around the marketplace. I can go on for hours talking about this stuff.
So if anyone calls you a distributor, you're going to vehemently deny it. You're not a distributor. You're a marketplace.
And we always have. We've never called ourselves a distributor. But I get that if people want to give us an award and it says distributor on it, I'm sure the team will still happy to take it.
You'll take
but
it.
Even the lists we're seeing in the press, like the lists around distributors and marketplaces, some vernacular is changing there. And it's not just us talking about marketplaces. There is a lot more there. I mean, no one's questioning whether Amazon are a bookshop that sells other things as gadgets or whether they're a marketplace, right? It just naturally takes place as a marketplace. And I think the channel and the IT will take more time, but I think that the future is those marketplaces as being a really empowering place with not just the thought leadership, not just the innovation, but also enablement, like all of the training. The fact I have a role at PAX 8, I don't think, like to your point, I don't think I could have a role if it wasn't a marketplace. And coming back to that purpose statement, helping small businesses achieve their dreams, that is literally my job. I don't work on the development features of the marketplace as a platform, as the software. I'm not involved in the internal development. I am literally there to go on stage or have a talk like this about how we think AI is moving and how we can really help MSPs grow faster than ever before.
Andy, I think we both agreed if it doesn't work at PAX 8, you're in serious trouble. You're going to be unemployable. We'll see. Or you said you might have to start your own thing, something because these jobs don't exist.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks for you because you won't be placing me in my next role. But I genuinely think what I do at PAX 8 doesn't exist elsewhere. If you believe it does and you're watching this, then feel free to reach out. My options are not open at the moment. Don't get me wrong. I'm not disenfranchised with PAX 8 by any means. I think that's pretty clear. But I think if I wanted to continue doing what I love and PAX 8 was no longer an option for me for some reason, I'd probably be founding something. I'd have to, because it's the only way to get the trust, the autonomy, and the way that I get to work right now. It really does feel like I'm a part of like the team that founded it. We're co-founders, and that's not just me in my role. That's lived and breathed through so many people at PAX 8. Like they have the ability to do things in a different way, and it's not necessarily just disruption. I think is where we started, like disrupting the channel and all this stuff, but because of that heritage of disruption, we don't need to disrupt now, but I think it gives the opportunity internally for us to really innovate and really think about new ways of doing things. And status quo doesn't exist at Paxo.
Let's talk about some of the AI tools, Andy, or what AI tools out there or the platforms do you think businesses really need to know about right now?
I'll give you some examples, but this really ties into that piece. As I transitioned into that architect role, I did more and more around Microsoft Azure, and it grew from how big do you need your server to meet your application's requirements. It moved away from that into, what is the culture of your people, their understanding, and how are they going to adapt to this technology if we're doing more of data and AI rather than infrastructure as a service. And the more I worked on data and AI projects, the more it was actually less about the technology. So it kind of pained me at the time. I'm this highly qualified Microsoft Azure solution expert, but there's 10 different ways to do it on Microsoft, and there's probably 50 different ways to do it with other technologies from vendors as well. So it was never about which tool to use to set your business ahead of the competition, because typically between those hyperscale providers that have these AI tools and others that are coming up out of everywhere as well, there's feature parity. So you look at ChatGPT. I've got a really nice slide. I love slides, but it doesn't really work in this format. But ChatGPT, everything from the ground up, because of the purpose of their business, and big believer in the purpose of that business will dictate everything they do. They are there to impress as many people, to generate investment, and to generate the growth of OpenAI. So ChatGPT naturally is probably one of the most impressive things. Like all the features they release, like the deep research agent when that first came out, and the new autonomous agent piece that can go in, you plug in your credentials and it can go into your G Suite, or it can go into your platforms and do things on your behalf. That is because they're trying to inflate their share price. They're trying to inflate investment. Whereas Microsoft, as an example, there's so many other vendors, but Microsoft are not trying to generate massive new investment in a small new business that's scaling. They are trying to protect their share price. So how Copilot shows up is, even with the same models in ChatGPT and Copilot for 365, for example, the temperature is dialed down and it's built to be reliable and trustworthy, because you don't need some really impressive response about where that SharePoint document isn't. You need a reliable, short response of where it is. So the way it's tuned, the way that the same models are kind of built really differs between the type of technologies that you're using. But I wouldn't say there's any one tool to really set you apart. But certainly from my experience, and I am biased because, I was a Microsoft architect in particular, whilst in that Wirehive transition before I talked about, I think Microsoft's work on the user experience of some of their stuff, and also the levels of investment where they're catching up things like ChatGPT that was probably leading on features. We're starting to see boxes pop up and interfaces change quite quickly, where it is keeping up to speed with some of those new providers as well. So if you're going to back one horse, my personal view would be Microsoft, but there's so many up and coming things like NAN as well from a workflow perspective, and so many more that we can talk about for days. But if you're really concerned about the tool and technology first, you're going to miss a trick, because you have to start with where the problems are. Because all these things feel like gimmicks if you don't actually have a problem to solve initially. So the main thing that I talk about with AI, I am not an expert in all the models. I'm not an expert in all the technical side of things. I'm not a data scientist. And it's never held me back, because as a rule of thumb, if you can get a human to do a job, you can, with different degrees of complexity, you can get some AI models to do the same job, right? Now, or certainly automate a lot of the work. However, if you're not got clear problems you're trying to solve initially, then you're going to get into this trap of finding some really cool, shiny tech, and then you're looking for places to put it, but you've got absolutely no inspiration. So there's countless people looking for use cases right now around, what's the best use case for this new model? Even the people that wrote the model don't know. It requires the creativity and problem solving of the people that are implementing that for a specific cause. And I think one of the biggest assets in the channel right now for MSPs and other technology providers, you maybe don't necessarily see it as creativity, but the problem-solving skills we have in the engineering resource in the channel at large is a creative resource. It is a problem-solving skill that, instead of problem-solving that ticket that's just come in about this problem that's on fire, if you instead apply these people that think and solve problems, like I used to be for 15 years as an engineer, if you apply that to a business challenge and move them away from fighting fires and actually, creating wealth, creating opportunity, I'm lived experience that works. You can take that problem-solving mentality, you can take an engineer, and they can transform businesses as a consultant.
It's interesting. It really is. It really is. You mentioned there about Scott, your CEO at your conference, said "Born to Disrupt," and people would think, oh, they're a distributor, some would say marketplace, whatever you want to talk about it, and the differences between that. How does that marketplace model affect MSPs? Where do they get the benefit from?
So I think there's a few different angles. Obviously, the innovation that goes into the platform itself is one thing. Right. And if you're just purely, if you're in a world where you're looking to compare us with other distributors and legacy kind of distributors, naturally the tendency is to look at the platform and the software benefits.
Right.
So like automation of billing, the integrations, we've got an MCP server that you can build your own agent that you don't even use our software. It can go and interact with the data underlying there. There's so many innovations that are pushing that forward. Like Integrations Hub was a big one we announced in June. We've got the agent store coming, which is an early access pilot happening in December this year, and then early next year that'll be live. So that's a whole new store of agents on the marketplace. And I think that rate of innovation is a slight differentiator, but the biggest one for me is the enablement piece. So another big announcement that we had was, you think it would be a Pax8 announcement, if you think of us as a distributor, it would just be the software that's improving in our platform, right? Yeah. But actually, or our partner program, like the Voyager Alliance Rewards, you could say that that's comparable to some distributors probably, but one of the biggest announcements was our guided growth program. So in June, we launched Data and AI Guided Growth. And just now in October, we announced the OneCloud Guided Growth, which is all about the Microsoft stack. Now, these programs contain hundreds of on-demand courses in our Academy library that partners can go, and it's a guided, signposted journey based on an assessment about their business and how well they use these technologies. And it can really transform what they're doing. Now, I didn't believe how much of an impact it would make, and I wrote 30 of the courses with the team. I was quite involved in a good chunk of the 100 courses for the Data and AI Guided Growth, and I was writing them, put loads of effort into it. Like, then they weren't AI generated. That would have been a cop out from us. Like,
yeah.
In the one of them, we could have got away with AI content. Would have been the AI learning, but it wasn't. It was like me sitting down with loads of really smart people to figure out, how do we pitch this stuff? How do we make sure that it lands? And we had an amazing case study video that was created. I wasn't even aware of it, so it was kind of a surprise to me. But earlier this month, we had one of the partners talking about how they went from basically zero knowledge, zero work on data and AI, and now they're generating revenue. And like in just 2 months of doing these courses, completely opened up new revenue streams, and they're succeeding just by doing the on-demand guided growth, which is amazing. Like, to hear
that is great.
If that's affected one business, I'm happy that I spent like 3 months at the start of this year building that content, because that's amazing, and it's there for those 43,000 partners and more, an amazing growing rate to make the most of that. And the other thing that shows this enablement piece, I said that basically I get to do really within reason whatever I want or whatever I think is the most valuable thing for those partners in this role. It's an amazing role. Lucky in your terms to be able to do that. Privileged.
We don't believe in that. We don't believe in that, Andy.
Privileged for sure.
Privileged, yeah.
I'm in a really privileged position that one of the things that I get to do is these data and AI masterclasses. So for a while, for 3 years or so now, we've had the cybersecurity masterclass. We've built the data and AI masterclass last year, and now we're doing sales masterclass as well. And these are one-day events with a dinner the night before where we, wine and dine, entertain the partners. They come together, and there's the community aspect of they really have this enjoyable interaction. And the day of the content it's not about vendors, it's not about the tools and tech, but it's really insightful ways of pitching the kind of the concepts of AI. So how does it land with small businesses? This whole talk track about how to actually find opportunities and starting with problems first. One of the things is on that point is your AI success story has got 3 chapters. They're in order, they're sequential. First one is identify valuable problems. The second one is looking at an open-minded approach to explore innovative technology only after you found the problems. And then it's then building your approach, like defining the way that you're going to bring this to life. And when you start to think about that, that's not just applicable to AI use cases. It's if you're building anything for a market right now, if you're founding and starting a new business, what problem are you solving for people? How are you going to do that in an innovative way that's efficient and that generates wealth? And then defining your approach, like what's the wrapper and how do you take that to market? So
Pax8 been growing fast. We all know that. Everyone knows that at the moment. More regions, more vendors, lots of partner expansion. Why has that happened? Why is it growing so fast? What's the driver behind it?
It's difficult because a lot of the partners, the types of partners that come to us are self-selecting because they're ready for something different. I do believe we are different. What that means is that they're ready for more involvement in their business. Like we don't just wait to take an order or push for an order. It's never about orders, the conversations that we have with our partners, right? It's about their growth, their opportunities in their customer base. We're an extension of their team, is how I believe it works. That's obviously very deliberate because we're trying to define what a marketplace looks like. And, when you're building something from the ground up, calling yourself something different, but actually then that comes to life in a way that everyone you onboard, they're not necessarily even worked at a distributor before. So they aren't stuck in the ways of thinking, well, this is different to how I've always done it. So we've got an amazing team there that's not just a young team, but loads of experience coming in that gets it, wants it. And I think I've pushed the purpose statement a few times now, but it genuinely is that the mission statement, the vision statement, our executive leadership team can recite that word for word. But what really makes a difference is where almost every employee, we've got 1,800 plus employees globally, they live and breathe that, bringing the small customer that is being supported by the MSP, by the channel. We really do everything with that in mind, that's who we're helping.
What's next for Pax8? Where's the future in 2026?
2026, well, that's coming around quick.
2026, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got the agent store that I mentioned, so that'll be launched. There's the marketplace chat feature as well that's coming. So from a technology perspective, there's some amazing innovations around agentic AI that's going to help partners engage with us using that agentic supply chain. So, agents can completely transform the world we're going into. We know that, but the agent store on the marketplace is going to be the place where you can go and buy someone else's agent they've listed, or you can build and sell your own to your customers, but also to other partners. So it really becomes this embodiment of the marketplace, almost like think of a traditional, Sunday market. It is people working together, collaborating and sharing their ideas, and generating wealth for each other that way too. And there's definitely more to come on the enablement piece as well. So we've done the why, and then we've moved to the how when it comes to the managed intelligence provider playbook. But in terms of the what, there's so many partners that are stepping up, working alongside our teams. We're doing roundtables and so much collaboration right now with forward-thinking partners that are already identifying as managed intelligence providers. I get the privilege as well to talk on stage at conferences, been to the Beyond conferences, obviously from Pax8 perspective, and I've had hundreds of people in the room at my talk, and I love this question of, it didn't work so well in June. Well, it did work well because it's exactly what I expected, but I was like, how many people in the room identify as a managed intelligence provider? And it was the day before that we'd ever said that phrase for the first time. No hands went up. I was like, oh, to be expected. You've only had a day, so let's give you a bit more time. I did it again in October, and a few of those partners from the European region had been to Denver, to be fair, but 2 hands went up out of 280 people in the room. And that's already, to have 1% of people already saying they're a managed intelligence provider, given they've had a few months to really understand what it might be. That's huge. We're seeing some partners as well launch completely new divisions with a new go-to-market. So they're still an MSP, but much like some MSPs have a separate cyber arm that's doing security, we're seeing some that are doing a managed intelligence arm that's consulting-led, that goes in. And what you'll find is that much like the cyber one, the managed intelligence provider will be able to refer people to the MSP as well. So it's upstream, almost like if you're building a house, you need an architect. Yeah. That architect probably knows someone that can build it, and that builder probably knows a handyman that can do the maintenance and stuff.
You mentioned that talk you did there. What are you seeing the sort of smartest and the most forward-thinking MSPs are doing to actually take advantage of this growth and this opportunity? What are the user cases? What are you seeing is happening?
Again, focusing on that customer growth, they are showing up in a different way. So that it starts with reintroducing themselves to their customers. And that's honestly an amazing call.
Really?
Yeah. So they're
presenting themselves as a different organisation, a different offering.
I genuinely believe, I talk about it in my masterclass, I genuinely believe a good percentage of people that have come to that and that have done the guided growth programs and been inspired by Scott Chasen and other people at the Beyond conference and seen the keynotes, they are going back and talking to their customers, finding out more about them because they don't know everything that they need to know yet, asking about the challenges, their growth, their opportunities. But it starts with a conversation around, we've been to a pretty cool event and we think we can do more for you now. And it's a really, really compelling, inspiring conversation to have with your customer for a change. You can talk about, what's going on with the IT budget next year? Can we have a little bit more, please? And can we do this stuff we've been telling you is really important for a while? Or we could start the conversation by saying that there's a whole different aspect here. And if you can consider us being on that level, not just with an IT budget, but how we use technology as a leverage to achieve your goals, in particular, the opportunity around leveraging data to be insights, automating processes, and building agentic workflows that unlock new ways of working. That is for any customer out there, the small businesses that are using MSPs, that's such a compelling opportunity because enterprise businesses have been doing it for a long time. Enterprise have had this amazing budgets to spend on the top 6 management consulting firms will come in. OpenAI just started as well recently this year. They've started their own consulting arm, and the minimum project spend is $10 million per year. So I used to talk about, 6-figure sums to be able to get in the room with, the big enterprise consultants. Whereas what we were doing in Academy is this consulting in a really bite-sized way that MSPs can afford it. But actually, no, it's now, you're talking $10 million of project size to be able to get consulting on from OpenAI themselves. They are not the only people that can help with their technology being implemented, right? The MSPs have got the ideal scenario. Plus, they've already got their foot in the door as the guardians and gateholders of the data. So they already secure and govern the data for their customers. They're trusted. They've gone through procurement, whatever they needed to do. Pivoting from that data as a liability piece, still important, has to happen. Not advocating we stop worrying about security and governance, but as well as that, we think about data being an asset. So within data, there's information. Within information, there's hopefully knowledge, and knowledge can sometimes give us insights. And as you move up that chain, you're massively multiplying the value of data. You can do that with tools like Power BI and Microsoft Fabric. You can do it with automation, things like Power Automate from our Microsoft lens. And then you can do that with agents like Copilot, Copilot Studio, and obviously the Microsoft Azure tools as well. So just a Microsoft lens there. There's so many other vendors, but there's so many opportunities to enhance the value that businesses are getting from their data. And that pivot from being able to be the guardians of the security of the data, shut it down, don't let anyone touch it, to what's actually in here that could help drive your business forward is like no other opportunity in the world right now. And there's no industry that are sitting on a gold mine, frankly, of that just need to have a different conversation with your customer about that data. If you're helping them grow, that generates the budget to be able to invest in it. So the pricing and the value that's there, the profit to be made, is all around unlocking the awareness of what the data could be doing differently.
When you talk to these MSPs, what's their reservation? What's their hesitation? I would have thought initially it would be like cost, money. What is their mindset around it? Are they actually apprehensive about doing some of this stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I think from a personal experience, it almost reflects my career as well to an extent. Like for a while in those MSPs I was working in as an engineer, there's definitely a sense of limiting beliefs of, well, who am I to I can't do this stuff. It's a bit of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Like you've just told me on stage that I need to go and speak to my customers because I can grow their business by 40% next year.
It's insane.
How do I go and have that conversation? Where do I start?
No one would think that though, would they?
Yeah.
They wouldn't be thinking that at all.
No, but that is what they can do. And I think it is limiting beliefs because MSPs have always been more capable than just a service provider. That you can be a real partner. We see some, virtual CIOs and, virtual IT director type services in the most forward-thinking MSPs that work really well for this exact reason. Now, imagine those types of services, but you know enough about automation because you've been doing it internally as well. And you know about agents and how to put agents inside a workflow to completely transform the way businesses work. All of a sudden, it's not too alien and it's actually, I think we could do that. And that's the biggest hurdle is the limiting beliefs and looking at yourself as something that's, this is the way we've always done it. When
you speak on stage, Andy, do you get people looking at you thinking, just stop, this isn't happening? Or do they actually open their mind and think, oh, this is possible? Just a lot of reservations in the room when you have it?
I don't think so.
No?
No, I think, it's self-selecting because most of my talks are at PAX 8 events. Yeah. So in that case, we've filled it with PAX 8 partners who have decided to work with us for that stuff. But I genuinely think the way that we position it, and my talk track, I've been talking about AI for 7 years. So it's not ChatGPT era generative AI stuff. It's AI before it was cool, essentially. And, AI as a field of research has been 75 years or more in the making. So there's so much history there. And I think I have got a bit of a knack of explaining it in a way that makes sense and giving practical next steps. So generally there's people coming up to me after a talk saying that just unlocks everything for me. That just made everything make sense. And that's the best thing I can hear coming off stage.
This week announced Amazon were cutting, I think 14,000 tech jobs, and a lot of people were talking about AI automation being the reason for that. Do you think this is just the start of the big wave? Load of cuts now in the industry, in the channel, in tech in general?
I think from my perspective, I think we'll see a lot of displacement and a lot of change. Certain roles, I always say this, it's a very common slide that I use. I talk about the 3 truths of kind of positions of what AI is going to do to us. So there's some people that say, well, AI is going to replace me. Some people that feel that you won't be replaced by AI, but you'll be replaced by someone using AI better than you. And then there's the other camp, which is, no one's going to get replaced. We're just going to be augmented and do our jobs better than before. All 3 are true. Now, depending on what industry you work in or what verticals you support for your customers, some of those are more true than others. So there are absolutely roles that today have already been replaced by AI and automation and other things, even through to like robotics and other things. There is this constant evolution. But one thing that for me that sticks out is as soon as anything is by AI, it's a hotter topic. It's a bigger thing that gets made a meal of, essentially. So will it have a massive impact to the way that we work? 100%. I think even without generative AI, even without general intelligence and super intelligence, if we're just talking about narrow intelligence, which every AI we have today is just narrow intelligence. It does one specific task very well. That's what the models do. That is still, if we stop developing right now, we could automate, there's some reports out there say like 80% of the jobs in the UK could be automated with the current tech. That's huge, right? And that is
frightening as well, though, for people. There are people that'll be out there thinking, I'm not going to have a job next year, or if in 2 years I might be completely replaced. Where will I be able to reskill?
Yeah, so my top tip is to have these conversations and think about this early. So specifically as leaders within teams, you need to think about what the roles in your team will do in the context of the automation and AI that's there. And specifically, I mean, it's an interesting one for hiring and recruitment, right? Because lots of firms right now will be trying to think about really critiquing that new headcount requirement, thinking, do we really need this extra capacity as a human, or could we automate the existing workflow? So I would expect to see a slowdown in net new recruitment. That slows people down from moving jobs, right? It doesn't mean there's less jobs, but it slows that change around. And I think naturally what will happen is that we'll always try to achieve more. So whilst we can do more with automation, we will fill that with more stuff that we can do. We'll try and have a bigger impact. Every business is trying to make net profit or a net positive impact on the world, generally speaking. So how do you just keep trying to drive that and achieve more with that? It will be a combination of people getting up to speed, getting up to skill levels that are required, and also investing in the technology side by side. But that's an amazing opportunity for MSPs, because now every business out there is thinking, not only what people do I need to go and achieve this goal that we have, but how is technology enabling that at the same time? And it's never really been on the same table for every business like it is today. Going forward, every business is a tech business. You need the tech to be productive. Now we need every business needs the tech to grow in the way that every other competitor to them is growing. So
when you're on stage, you're speaking to Pax8 partners. What about a non-Pax8 partners? They're not thinking, actually, I'm on this AI journey. So if someone comes to you and says, Andy, I don't know where to start with AI, and they're not a Pax8 partner, what do you say to them?
Where to start with AI? Well, firstly, don't start with AI. So I've done a number of like enablement workshops, specifically pre-ChatGPT and that kind of generative AI era, where the biggest takeaway was always BI. So if you can just visualize your data,
BI,
business intelligence.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so not AI, BI. So if you can think about visualizing your data sources better, to be able to get a report to people that can make faster decisions, more informed decisions that can improve the quality of the business outcomes, then that alone is game changing. Then you'll naturally progress into automation. So what should these workflows, for a while now it's been best practice and for certain regulations you want to document your workflows, right? Building that Visio diagram or a PDF in some format of here's our workflow for this particular procedure or process we have. Typically, and correct me if I'm wrong on your ones, but that then gets created and it's either a dusty piece of paper that never gets looked at again until there's an audit, or it's a PDF that's never been opened. Now is the golden opportunity to open up those dusty PDFs and think about new ways of working. It's not just automating to reduce the amount of human effort, but also reducing the whole process time, improving the quality of the experience for either internal people or external customers. And then after that, once you've got automation, once you're good at understanding how to automate things, that's where the agent opportunity really comes in. An agent will not replace a human. but an automated workflow where you used to have so many humans in the loop to do particular things. Like at this point, we need to send an email to the customer and wait for a reply. Well, now an agent could do that step. So it's the new ways of working that just weren't feasible before if you put the agents in the right place in an automated workflow. And I say that agents can't replace a human because it's way more granular than that. If you're thinking, well, we've got a researcher, we can either hire a researcher analyst or we can use an AI agent that does that stuff for us. Well, actually, what you need from a human researcher, the job description that they have and all the detailed work they need to do, there's probably 15 or more different tasks that are workflows and processes and other things that those automation tools and agents can help with. So it's the humans aren't comparable with agents on that same level. There's much more granular work that the agents need to be doing to do them well, and it's all down to the technical side of how much context they can have and how much awareness of the wider world you're giving them at any given time. The more you give them, the more confused they get.
To give some of the humans out there some hope that they're not going to be completely replaced, is there any AI projects that you've seen that have gone horribly wrong? Like a funny story that you've seen, this has gone completely wrong?
Well, there's loads at the moment. Look at generally AI hallucinations from generative AI. I think the biggest one for me that really sticks to mind is about 6 years ago, there was a project called DrawingBot. And we used to do this demo. It was from the Microsoft team. It was a generative adversarial neural network. Let me explain what that means. So you've got two sides. You've got one model that's basically generating random pixels, painting by numbers, essentially. Each pixel can be red, green, or blue, and 0 to 255 number for each one. So by numbers, it's mathematically generating paint on a canvas for every pixel. And then you've got another one, which is the discriminator. So the discriminator is looking at that canvas that gets generated and goes, does that look like the prompt we've asked it for? Now, back then, DrawingBot was only able to generate images of birds. And people didn't believe, even then, which is crazy to think now how much the perception's changed. But 6 years ago, I would do these demos and people would go, that's not real. That's just a Google search. That's just a real bird that's been searched on the internet, right? It's like, no, it's painted that. They couldn't believe that a machine could paint a new image that hasn't existed before. And we would say, at the moment, this only does birds because that's the model and that's how it's been trained, but it can generate anything in the future. And they just didn't believe it. And they didn't understand how would that benefit anyone. Who would want that? And fast forward 6 years and everyone's got the ability to generate whatever images they want in their phone for free. It's become a gimmick, but what's really insightful is the perception of the technology and how useful was it ever going to be. So all these things we think are gimmicks or think are useless, I mean, that took 6 years, but that will not take 6 years again from now for whatever we think is crazy now to become something that everyone is adopting. So it's really difficult to comprehend what seems like a silly gimmick now, but how much it's going to transform our lives in the future, right? In the next 6 years, but maybe even sooner. So
that's your job, Andy. You got to think into the future. My last question, and I always ask every guest this, and I don't want you to say Pax8, and I don't want you to say Microsoft.
Okay.
So what is, or who is, one company that you think is the company to watch in 2026? That could be a vendor, distributor, MSP, or a VAR. What company's going to do well?
It'd be hard to pick a partner because there's so many amazing partners that could be in that mold. So I'm going to go for an up-and-coming vendor, which is N8N. At this moment, not on the Pax8 marketplace. N8N, so letter N, number 8, letter N, it's existed for a while now as an automation platform, similar, if you know Microsoft technology well, similar to Power Automate. So you can create a workflow, you can plug it into so many different connectors, but it's up and coming. You see all the cool kids on YouTube are building these N8N workflows. Most of the nonsense material on YouTube right now, in terms of like Yetis blogging in the forest, are AI-generated images using typically N8N to completely automate that. So they're creating the new ideas, they're creating the material, they're going and generating the videos, they're uploading and publishing it to YouTube, all automatically, all in an autonomous workflow. Now, other vendors will catch up and be able to do this stuff, but N8N has exploded in the last year, and I think some of the things they're adding in the more recent months as well, they're a big one to watch for 2026.
Andy, you've been a great guest. Thanks so much for your time.